Hello and welcome to this trigger tutorial. Today we're going to talk about playback logging. So to enable playback logging, you go to Environment Options and go to the Logging tab and simply check the Enable Playback Logging checkbox. You can choose to format the document either as a simple text file or as a comma separated values file, and you can control various other parameters here relating to playback logging, including the format of the timestamp. And the document is presented as 5 separate columns, so here you can choose what information you want to be contained in each one of those columns as log lines are entered in the log file. But we'll keep everything at its default values for today. And you can see from the toolbar at the top of the screen here that we have a label indicating that logging is enabled and active. And likewise at the bottom of the screen, the status bar has a green border, which indicates that logging is enabled and active. Now, we may have the situation where we want to pre-hear a piece of music, and while we're pre-hearing a piece of music, we don't want that to be logged. So we can toggle playback logging on and off, and I've set up a trigger button to do that. If we look at the salvo control properties for this button, you can see it's set to toggle playback logging. So when we click on this trigger button, the label at the top on the toolbar goes out, and the border on the status bar goes grey. So grey indicates that playback logging is enabled but currently deactivated. So we'll reactivate playback logging now by clicking on the trigger button, and we'll play a piece of music, and we'll see in a moment, but that will be sent to our playback log. Now we may have the scenario where we have a continuous loop of music playing, and we might just leave that running throughout the whole show, and when we want to put that to air we fade it up, and when we want to lose it we fade it down. So in this instance what we actually want to record is not when the music is played and stopped, but rather when the fader relating to that loop is opened and closed. So most mixing desks have the ability to be able to give you a GPO, contact closure and opening, which would relate to when the fader is opened, pushed off the backstop and closed back onto the backstop. And those contact closures can be converted via an external device such as an X keys, which can then simulate a keyboard stroke on your trigger system, and these trigger buttons are set to respond to those keyboard strokes. And so if we look at the button properties for each of those, we can see that this one will send this text, tension on air, to our playback log, and likewise this one will send this text, tension off air, to our playback log. So this will fire when our fader is opened, and we'll do that now. So that would be the fader opening and putting this music bed to air, and this would represent us closing the fader. So we can now have a look at our resulting playback log, which I'll open now. With this application, and so here you can see the resulting log for today. Very small in this instance, but we can see that we deactivated and then reactivated logging. We played a cue, the times that was all happened, and then we've got when the fader was opened and the fader was closed. Okay, well that concludes today's tutorial. I hope you enjoyed it, and you'll get the chance to join me again next time.